89% of the adult US population is experiencing some type of stress. That's almost 90%, man.
Mm-hmm.
Very few people are getting away free, scot-free.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you navigate that? I know in your profession you see a lot of people who've taken the action of seeing you,
Right.
but there's so many more people who are
Who
not getting
not?
that
Right.
professional help. So what do you say about that?
Okay, so let me start with the area regarding just like the climate, right? The social climate,
Mhm.
um, the political climate, the social climate, just where we're at in time as a country and as a people around the world. Like there's
Okay.
always global issues that we are encountering, and I want to start with our digital diet. Okay, so there's such a term as attention economy, and there are so many things that are vying for your attention day in and day out. Again, from your cell phone to with your smart devices like your tablets, your television, your laptop, phone. There's just so many ways that we can always be connected to something to grab our attention,
Yeah.
through ads and commercials and things that pop up on our screen, and then AI is so intuitive now. We can have conversations right here, and then lo and behold, we look up and our phone is already kind of like curating something that was related to something we were saying.
Mhm.
Okay, so the attention economy is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
We do need to understand like how we steward our relationship with technology is going to be important in the years to come. Okay. But when we think about old school, I think about my grandfather or just my grandparents in general. They came up in a generation where the TV and like the news, like having the news on 24/7 or just having some kind of information about what's going on in the world coming at them was like really important. I remember my grandfather would always have CNN on, and he was probably the
Gotta know
first.
what's happening. Gotta
Got to
know
know
what's
what's
happening.
happening. He always kind of was in the know about things, and
Mhm.
it affected them. It probably affected them similarly that it does to us now, but because we have greater access through these devices like the cell
Yeah.
phone, laptop, it's just different where
Like what I'm
it,
looking at now.
right, like they can turn the television off, but then we're always on. And again, as with the attention economy, you know, smartphones, apps, everything that is done with these smart devices is curated and created in a way to keep you wanting to come back. It's like if you go to a casino, to the slot machine, and you play the numbers and you see the little colors and all that stuff, and you get the matchup, that rush of dopamine that comes into the brain is like, let's do it again because we can win again, like
Yeah.
going to Chuck E. Cheese or something like that. And so the same kind of brain chemistry is happening with the phone as well, with the laptop, with the smart devices. If we are not cognizant of it, we're just on autopilot and we'll realize, like, man, I just wasted an hour or two just staring at my phone. Okay.
Man, and Prince, I was like, look, watching another short, right? So Prince mentioned in 1999 to be careful about technology in the computer.
Hmm.
He said, remember you can use the technology, you can use the computer, but make sure it doesn't use you.
Right.
And
Right.
I think it's safe to say that right now there's a large percentage of the population where technology is using us.
Oh, absolutely.
It's using us.
Absolutely.
Like you said, everything is about how long can something grab our attention.
Correct. Correct. And I'm old enough and young enough to remember two things, right? I remember being in the growing up in this as a 90s kid. I remember growing up like going to play outside like for hours with my cousins, riding our bike through the neighborhood, going to
Yeah,
each other's
I
house,
remember that too,
all of
bro.
that,
Yeah.
and like the Nintendo and the Sega Genesis and all
Mhm.
that stuff was new. The internet was around, obviously. It came out in the 80s. But all of it was still fairly new and it was still exciting and interesting.
Mhm.
But we also had this like still grasp of like going to do things outdoors and using our imagination and arts and sports and all these different kind of things, which kids still do that today, but their engagement with social media and with smart devices is just way different than it was when I was a child because there was no access to the global world when I was on my Nintendo or my little VTech laptop computer,
Yeah.
right? There was just me and that gadget. But now like everything, every gadget is connected to everything in the world. And so I would say just as we have evolved as a humanity and with our engagement with the technology, we definitely have to be cognizant of what, Prince is talking about, just our responsibility because it's neutral. Technically, it's neutral. In a lot of ways, if we would just have self-control, if we would learn how to exhibit self-control and be cognizant of what we're doing, this doesn't have to control me. But we also see that so much of our life is outsourced to technology to make things more convenient, to make things easier. And that's the reason we have inventions happening all the time to make to make life easier and more comfortable and more convenient for us to do things. And so, like, at some point, cash will probably be obsolete, right?
Yeah.
We're moving everything to, paying by
Digital.
just digital, just scanning
Mhm.
thing. So we have to be very cognizant as we grow as a society how we engage with that. That would be the first thing I would say. What that could simply mean is, for me personally, and this is what I can admonish people, is put your phone and all the gadgets out of your room when it's time for bed.
Yeah.
Like, don't wake up to it and don't go to bed with it. Okay. That's just one place you can steal back some territory. Can I at least have 8 hours?
Boundary.
A boundary? Yeah, setting a boundary with it. Can I at least have 8 hours of rest uninterrupted where I am not inundated by things that are happening in the world? I power my stuff down at night. I
Mhm.
honestly do that just because what's going to happen while I'm sleeping? I mean, there may be things happening, but I need to get the rest in order to be able to tackle what's
Whatever that
happening,
is.
whatever
Yeah.
that is,
Yeah.
because we have created this thing of like burning the midnight oil, being up
Yeah.
all night,
We
just
gotta
doing,
be
doing, doing,
connected all the
working, working,
time.
working, working. And I have clients who have said to me, like, is like, I'm making the dollar, like I am earning money and I'm earning a paycheck and I'm doing the things as far as like financially that I've been wanting to do to secure this kind of lifestyle that I want, but at what expense, right? I'm
Mhm.
spending less time with my family. I'm spending less time doing things that other things that I enjoy just to do this. And that's the convenience of technology. And so we have a work culture. The work sector is also pushed that. So for me, coming out of corporate and going back into private practice, I have really seen the difference in my nervous system and in my physical body because I am not necessarily being pressured by someone above me to do this and do that and these metrics and these numbers. And so people in corporate settings need to have boundaries when it comes to work. Like, I'm not on the clock right now. I might need to power my computer off. But some people are afraid to do that.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many people are like, I need to make this work. And so they have this expectation. Their employer has this expectation they can be on the clock
All the
all the
time.
time,
Yeah.
right? That's not healthy. That's not healthy. Can I continue?
Yeah,
Or you
yeah.
want to say
No,
something
no,
right
I
there?
do wanna say this though, man. I think all of the things you're saying are on point, and just to acknowledge that these things may be known,
Yeah.
but I think it's really interesting in a book called, Outwitting the Devil,
Mm,
right? Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. He talks about, what the devil uses to win,
mm.
and he uses distractions
Distractions. Yeah.
because we all have a purpose,
Correct.
right? And our goal is to find out what that purpose is and then live it.
Right.
But but in this book, which is a fictional book, but if the devil is able to put something in our mind to distract us,
Right.
and then have that be like a habitual habit
Correct.
where we're unconsciously just doing it, like we're brushing our teeth, we just do it, then basically he's won,
Yeah.
right? Or she's won, the devil, whoever that is, because we should all be living a purposeful life.
Yeah.
But it's easier said than done. It is work to set up boundaries.
It is.
It
It
is
is.
work to set up a routine in the morning that prioritizes your self-care
Correct.
instead of jumping onto getting ready with the day, right? And looking at
Right.
your calendar and what you got to
Right.
do,
Right. Right.
like
Right.
whether it's an hour or whatever that is. So with that being said, I do want you to continue to talk, but if there's any solutions, in addition to, say, putting technology out of your bedroom, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
have
that's
more.
hard because a lot of people use their phone as their alarm clock.
Get an old fashioned alarm clock.
You see what I'm saying?
Get an old fashioned
So
alarm clock.
yeah.
They still make them.
So what are the things you can do? I like that. It's like setting the boundaries. Are there any other boundaries that you see that can be set, dealing with this attention?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. And I do want to share more of those in consideration of like what you do with your time. So
Okay.
that's another thing, doing a time audit. So I'm using a lot of terms that I use in session, but again,
Okay.
attention economy. So again, that has to do with where your attention is going. And then the digital distractions that you have are on autopilot. So really becoming more cognizant of that, setting boundaries with your going to bed and waking up with gadgets. That was the first one. But really just looking at how you engage your time. Okay. So
Mhm.
time auditing has to do with, let me just take an inventory of how I use this device or use my television or etc. and begin to see how much time in my day has been used up, or we could even say wasted, because it is an energy exchange as well. I want to
Mhm.
make that clear. Like when we are distracted by a lot of things on our phone, and there are a lot of great things that happen on our devices, right?
Like this
Like
is on the
this.
phone, right?
This is going to be on a device, right? But just knowing obviously what energy that I'm putting into something over time, how it is taken away, or it may be adding to what I'm doing on a daily basis. And I
Right,
want to
right.
also say the reason I want to kind of like make it very plain why it's important is because our use of technology can increase anxiety, can increase symptoms of depression because of what we're feeding ourselves. So our
Mhm.
digital diet. But a time audit is simply you just literally starting from whatever time you wake up. If it's 6:30 all the way to bedtime, 10:30, 11, you know, how have I used my time today? I mean, even in our phones, they have these
It tells
metrics,
you how much you've
exact how
used.
much you've used your phone. So
Isn't that crazy?
you can look at that like, man, I need to cut down or scale down my time of using my phone to do something else,
Yeah.
right? Like reading or
Right.
journaling or cooking an actual home cooked meal,
Mhm.
going for a walk. And we'll get into some of the coping skills, but I just want to say the time audit, look at how you're using your time.
Got it.
Because before you make a change, you have to have awareness. The first step to the change process is awareness, contemplation that there is actually a problem. So I am presenting my case for why this is a problem to your viewing audience, your listening audience. And now we need to look at where it is in my personal life that I'm seeing this problem exist.